Hello, hello, hello. It's Tuesday and we've got stuff. Mm, we've got quite a few tonight. Four, mm, besides what everybody else may or may not want to talk about in the chat. But thank you for joining me tonight. Hey, Couch. Hey, Jew. It's nice to see you. Oh, I see some people stop by before the stream. Thank you all for those who come and contribute or follow later. I do appreciate it. And so tonight, well, I guess I'll just show you tonight the thumbnail, right? I mean, come on, we know we got Boone. Yes, we got Boone. We got Tate. We got Read, and we got Duane Davis, Keffe D. Um, there's a lot that there is, and well, shall I leave it up to you guys? Let's just do a poll and see as people are coming in while we're talking and catching up. Um, I had troubles on Sunday with the power again, another branch in the wires at the pole. Such an outdated and antiquated excuse I get. Like you would think here in America, East Coast on this grid, that wouldn't be an issue, but apparently it is. Um, the wires touched again and the power went out on my whole block. And they're saying that our transformer is like from God knows how long. I think they said the 80s, you know, and they're going to have to replace that too. So sometime in the near future, they'll be pulling the whole block down again to replace the transformer because apparently the new ones, if it gets tripped by something like a wires or a branch, will actually come back up. But the current one that there needs somebody to actually in a truck go up there, climb up the pole, and reset it, which sounds so antiquated to me. So, which case do you want to discuss first? Let's see. We've got Read. We've got Boone. Boo Boo Boone. Yes, that's her new name. Sorry. Oh, yeah. I can actually spell today. Look at this. Tate and Keffe D. Starting the poll right now. Let's see as people are coming in. What you guys want to do? Like, I'll go with the chat. Hey, Wrecker. Hi, Shill. It's good to see you. Thanks for being here. Okay. There's been a lot. Like, also, I see that there are so many trials coming up. I'm going to have to do a community post on what trials you're most interested in covering live because, like, to do just trial after trial after trial would be crazy. Like, I don't think I could do it, to tell you the truth. It does take, I'm not saying it's a lot of work to sit there and listen. I'd be sitting there and listening anyway. It's just, going live and all, setting it all up and doing it takes a lot of watching the stream and just keeping it up. You still get to do what you're going to do, pretty much, but you are kind of like bound to the house. It's not like I can go out and do errands or anything, something like that. And I'm not complaining because I do love it, because I do love talking to everybody while it's going on and hearing your opinions. I do realize in some of the largest places, it's very difficult to get a question in or to get additional information. Not that I know everything, of course I don't, and it's just that I can Google and search and try to help find an answer, and we can actually just talk about it. For me, it's pleasant, and I do enjoy your company when you guys do come in for that. So I will be putting up a community tab on with the dates of some of these trials and what's going on. One of them I'm very interested in, we've only talked about a little bit, is Shawnee Lynn Crawl out of Minot, North Dakota. Legally, that case has a lot of issues. You remember we talked about evidence being, eliminated and just thrown out of the court because of the process. And I think those are important discussions to have about cases. And to me, this is one of the reasons I'm following it. Also, this man is just, well, he threatened his own lawyers on calls. He didn't even care. Like in the court, in the jail, talking to his mom, threatening his lawyer, and coming up with plans on how to intimidate her and force her to do things that they want. Not a good look. Judge canceled voir dire of the juries because so many people knew about the case and because of what happened with the lawyer, and they had to move it to another district. We don't know. We have a court date for that, but we don't know where it will actually be at this point. And I'm laughing, but none of that's really funny. It's all kind of scary. The laugh is a nervous laugh, to tell you the truth. I wouldn't want to be in the courtroom with him. They have so many extra security on this man just to do the trial. Remember, we were talking about like extra security in the courtroom itself, extra security on him. That tells you everything. Hello, After Dark. Thanks for joining. It's good to see you. I like when people come into the chat. This is good. Hey, Mouse, how are you? I'm saying hi. If I missed anybody, it's not intentional. I'm just, sometimes I'm just actually pulling stuff up as we talk. I'm sure you can hear the click, click, clicks, right? I don't know. I think they have to put a shock ankle. There's usually the prosecution will usually put forth a recommendation for the safety. At some points, they were actually putting it underneath their clothes so that the jury isn't prejudicial. You can see how having a man shackled to the table, like let's just the picture of Hannibal Lecter. Remember on when they pushed him on the dolly, like he was a refrigerator and he was all tied up and he had his mouth thing and he was in his jumper for jail. I mean, not a good look for a jury to see you like that, but that's like the vision I have in my head. That this guy is like, they're so worried about what he's going to do. He's up against several charges for violence in the jail itself and making weapons. So there's things. Yeah, they would have to. If they shackle him to the floor, which I think that's what you're saying, they would shackle his ankles and also his wrist cufflets would be shackled to the floor. They would have to block the view. I agree. It would be so prejudicial. And as a jury, they shouldn't see that. They shouldn't see that. I don't know if he's going to be wearing regular clothes. I mean, I think you have the opportunity to do that in most states. Morning, Mitt. Morning. All right. I think I gave it a little bit of time. I'm going to go take a peek at the poll. Oh, great. The poll, I kid you not, is 25% for every single. You guys just don't care. I'm going in order. That's it. Like, okay. 20. That's pretty funny. Okay, I'm letting that. I'm just going to end that poll. Look at that. That is you're making me giggle, people. You're really making me giggle. Okay, so then let's just go in order. Make it easy for me, okay? There's a lot to do. I'm going to get started so we don't delay. You swung on that pole? I'm giggling on it. I'll tell you that. I'm giggling on that pole there. Okay. First up. Oh, look. It's Boo Boo. Okay. Figures. That's the one I don't have the documents up on, but I'll get them. All right. Basically, all right. I don't even need the documents, okay? For those of you that want a copy of the, yes, she wrote another letter. Yes, she did. She wrote another letter. If you want copies of it, DM me, or if you're not already in my Discord, I will put the links in the shareable link in there in the room. I'm not going to post it out today based on some trouble I've had with the Google Drive. But I definitely want you to have access to it. You know how I am. We want to go by the documents. Well, basically, she did write another letter to the judge. Apparently, she was not informed until she heard it from a guard that Patricia Cashman had actually filed a motion to no longer be her attorney. And she wanted to know from the judge why she did not get notified, although they do seem to be copied. I don't know if it's something with the mail system at the jail or how she gets notified that she's offended with. But as we go on, you'll see the judge is just not messing around anymore. Okay. Sarah Boone, in the judge's decision, has been declared as no longer able to benefit with a court-appointed attorney at the expense of the state. She has exhausted her limit, according to the court, in that she has displayed actions that say that she is the one causing the delays. In his decision, this judge went all the way back to every time, like not every single attorney that left, but several of them. The ones, at least the most recent ones, the one before Bankfield and Bankowitz and Hobson. Hobson he was present for. Cashman he was present for. Okay, so he knows that he himself told the defendant, Sarah Boone, that she would actually sooner or later run out of options, that she needs to cooperate with the attorneys, and that although it's her right to have a court-appointed attorney, there were limits, and that she's gonna, like, the lawyer's got a lawyer and she needs to cooperate on some terms. And he tried to explain this to you. We know that Judge Wooten tried to explain it to her repeatedly. Judge Wooten tried to tell her that, it's not always exactly what you want. The expertise is there, and you got to listen to your attorneys. Okay. This decision by the judge was very well written. He went back to the whole case, the every single time that she was advised that she would run out of options eventually. And then he went over the precedent and the statutes that allow him to make the decision that this particular defendant has exhausted and basically has given up her right to counsel for court issued state paid counsel in this matter. Or she's exhausted it. Her actions, he says, speak louder than her words. She keeps saying she doesn't want to defend herself, but she does not cooperate with the attorneys. And I think that last 58-page letter did it. It really did. And just to show you why, I'm going right to the court records, and this was posted. They had a hearing on June 28th, just a couple of days ago, in regards to Patricia Kathman's wanting to leave. Now, Sarah Boone wrote the letter before she was brought to this hearing, because the way I'm reading it, and the reason I'm bringing it up here word for word is to discuss it with you guys, because my interpretation of this is that she was there. Comments from the court minutes. The court addressed Attorney Cashman's motion to withdraw. The defendant was placed under oath. The court read on the record its order dated on June 28th. We've already discussed that as it relates to the motion to withdraw to the defendant in open court. In other words, he brought her in, put her under oath, talked to her about the motion to withdraw from Cashman, told her all about the order and read it to her, what he just decided about she needs to defend herself. So she's been fully informed, okay, of all of this, okay. But what really got me, and I just want to tell you, I literally just copied this and put it in here. The only thing I did was like make it to one side and make it white so you could read it. But the way that it's written is exactly how it's on the court filing. Okay. They said that the court read on the record its order dated of June 28, 2024, as it relates to the motion to withdraw to the defendant in open court. The defendant gave a statement and asked questions of the court of his order. And then in caps, they put, the defendant was provided a copy of the court's order hand-delivered on June 28th by Officer Jones and Thomas. And I think that might have to do with things that she may have said in court in regards to she didn't know about any of this. I think that they really think that she's trying to pull the wool over their eyes a little bit here. I don't know. She would be the 9th attorney for herself, Mary Adams. Mary Adams asks, how many attorneys did she go through? She went through 8. One of them was a conflict of interest. based on other cases. And so it wasn't that they put any complaint about her. In the beginning, I believe she paid for an attorney, and maybe she became indigent and could not pay anymore. I'm not too familiar with what happened with the first attorney. I do know there was another attorney that left because of conflict of interest, but all the other ones have asked to be removed based on interactions with Sarah Boone. Sarah herself has said she's had problems with her attorneys repeatedly. Sarah had called Bankowitz every name in the book that you can think of. I mean, without cursing, just literally, in her letters and to him in views, and was not being very respectful. She chose a different tactic with this last attorney, with the fake judge, pretend judge. Like, act like the judge is in the room when you speak to me, because you need to speak with me with total respect. Like, don't talk to me with the real deal. Like, don't tell me what's really going on here. Sarah doesn't really want to hear the attorney's opinions. That seems to be pretty clear to me. And it seems like the judge is really, this judge, who was very patient in the beginning, kind of sees the picture, because, well, in his document, he lists exactly how long this case has been open, how many attorneys she's had, and how many times she was personally addressed as, this can't keep going on like this. Like, she was warned so many times. And now she's going to feel all, Sarah, she's going to be feeling like she did something and that this judge is against her. His latest order, I'll bring that one up next. But anyway, he does not look amused to me. He's like, why are you doing to you? Like, he's trying to help her, but at this point, I don't feel like she's helping herself. Both Judge Wooten and Judge Kranig had actually warned her that it might not be in her best interest to actually defend herself. She does not have the legal expertise necessary to navigate such serious charges against her. And I think both judges really tried very hard amongst the shenanigans to try to get her what she needs. And I just don't know what it is that Sarah feels she's not getting. She's getting legal advice. It's just not the advice she wants. In his order, he literally actually laid out that in his conversations with some of the attorneys, that Sarah actually wants to take avenues of defense that they feel are not legally appropriate, let alone substantiated. Now, that's a big issue. That kind of language tells you they may be dealing with somebody that just isn't in the reality of what is happening to them. It is more than 4 years. 4 years, Mousy. To answer your question, Juju is correct. It has been 4 years and somewhat days that we have been waiting for trial on this particular case, that she's been arrested. Okay. And also, per the court on June 28th, in that hearing, they also discussed all of this. And this is important stuff. Okay. Comments. The court made findings that the defendant has forfeited her right to counsel. The motion to withdraw was granted. As a condition of Attorney Cashman's withdrawal, she will provide the court an order for costs to obtain transcripts of depositions for the 2 witnesses that she herself deposed. Upon completion of the transcription of the deposition transcripts shall be sent directly to the defendant at the Orange County Jail. Attorney Cashman shall file a notice with the court reflecting that the deposition transcripts were provided to the defendant. All previous dates remain. In other words, our trial is still for October 7th, and our status conference is for September 27th. Now this is the part that gets me, and it's in caps. They mean business. All pretrial motions must be filed no later than the close of business on Monday, July 22nd, 2024. Yeah, Sarah's representing herself, and she only has, what is that? Like, it's the second. She's got 20 days to file motions that she thinks are necessary before we get to our September conference, our status conference hearing in regards to trial on October 7th. This judge is no longer playing ball with Sarah Boone. He's like, that's enough. Here we are. If this is what you wanted, this is what you got. There's been talk back and forth on all of the legal tube channels and even commentary channels and all over Twitter. I mean, is this actually what Sarah Boone wanted, to be able to defend yourself? To me, this seems worst case scenario for her. The court ordered Attorney Cashman to provide the 2 boxes of discovery with the clerk marked as identification A and B. The court will reach out to the jail to inquire how to deliver those to the defendant. So they've taken upon themselves to address her letter where she says she never gets noticed of anything, to just say, you wanted it, you got it, here it is, and you better have all those motions in by July 22nd, because it doesn't sound like he's going to be granting any more delays of any nature unwarranted in this case. I just found it out of the ordinary to have things capitalized the way that it is right now. I don't know about you guys, but yeah. You know what? I'm going to go do some comments here. Okay, yeah, Juju, don't use hide and seek as your defense. Exactly. Okay. And it's not even funny. Like, this to me is like, this is serious. Like, I feel more sympathy in right now for her than I have during this whole thing. I do believe she caused this situation herself. But what now, boo-boo? What now? Like, how are you going to get a fair trial when you have only you to count on, and you don't seem to get the full picture here? Like, I'm it's perplexing. What is she looking for in an attorney? Because I heard they went out of their way to answer her questions at the best they could, but she didn't like what they had to say because it wasn't going her way, and that would be correct. In the hearing, which before the one on June 28th, we covered the June 7th hearing, and we heard Patricia Cashman say she was taking collect calls. She spent at least 20 hours talking to Sarah, and Sarah herself was walking out of the meetings at the jail where she was trying to tell her about the discovery and everything. Sarah only wants to talk about what Sarah wants to talk about. She's refusing to acknowledge that they've got a trial coming up on October 7th. She wanted to talk about bail. She wanted to complain about the fact that her brother now has all the information on the bail process, and that's why, because Patricia Cashman gave him all that information, that's why she's not getting out of bail, and that's why she can't get a bail hearing, and it wasn't up to her to disclose that information to him, and yet it was. And the judge actually corrected her during that hearing and said, everything that you're complaining about, that doesn't sound like she did anything wrong. Your attorney did what they were supposed to do. Basically, different words were used, of course. I'm paraphrasing, but that's the gist of it, right? I know, Juju, you feel less, and I'm just like, oh, because I just think she stepped in it, Juju. You know what I mean? Like, the shock of, like, maybe this is what she wanted, but I mean, does anybody honestly think that she's going to be able to give herself the best defense for her legally? Maybe, because she knows best about herself. Yeah, she can speak for herself the best. You know what I mean? I agree with that. But you get your attorney to speak for you in the legal language that is necessary to get your point across. You know what I mean? And she has lost that benefit now. And I'm afraid that nobody's going to know what she's talking about. And no competency hearing. Like, I don't know. Can she request one herself? to delay the trial. Like all these crazy thoughts are going through my head. Like, yeah. Juju's right. She is looking for an attorney that can change the facts of the case, and the facts of the case can't be changed. This is true. In her, this is just like, of course, when we look at the evidence that we have, we don't see a lot of evidence in this case. Discovery is closed so far. We have seen the video that they pulled off the phone in the beginning in the investigation. We have the interrogation, the interview. We can see what she said. That's all coming into evidence. Now, in her 58-page letter, she made several references. Do you remember that she said about excited utterances? I mean, she was actually putting forth defense reasons for things that she said and did. And she was putting them forth to the judge. And so I kind of understand how the judge decided that she actually does want to represent herself, regardless of what she says. She literally is in all the letters to the judges. I mean, she is. She's acting like she's filing a motion and pleading her case in every single one. And just changing her story several times during the interviews that she had is a problem. And I think one of the things I'm thinking is Patricia Cashman didn't want to use excited utterance as a defense. That the duress made her say what she said, especially when you watch those the interviews. You can see her calculating. She doesn't look under that much duress, although I'll never say who could ever say, not me or anyone, how someone is under duress in any way or what it should look like. Of course, we don't. Everybody's different, but it didn't look like they were putting a lot of pressure on her. It was conversational, and we all watched it. Sarah has a valid defense. I could have swayed the jury. Sarah defeated herself here. She made her bed. You mean about I was drinking, I didn't know, and I just went to bed, and it was a game, and it was without intent, manslaughter, exactly. But she, like Mousy says, she's really digging a huge hole here. Yeah. It's just it's unfortunate. And when I say I have sympathy right now, it's because for the situation, it doesn't look like this is going to be very, very good. Yeah, in layman's term, as Juju would say, the dumb drunk defense, and I stand by that. We've talked about that from the beginning. I never really felt like I'm not a lawyer, but I understand. I don't get some of the subtle nuances here, but I do try to check everything out, and I do see that. For me, it does look like a strong reach for overcharge when they said murder too. But I think it was the changing of the stories. And once they found that video and they saw that she refused to help him while she was awake and did not acknowledge any of that to them during any of their conversation, I can understand why they think that she actually could have just wanted this outcome. And they didn't do murder one, they did murder two. And with murder two, there is the clause in there that she did nothing to help prevent what happened. She had opportunity to let him out. You know what? And everyone should, Juju. I agree with this. I reserve the right to make my final call after the trial. Exactly. Oh, when we see what evidence actually comes out, just based on what we've already seen. I mean, I know how I feel about it, but I do believe that the trial is actually where we should focus on what evidence should be considering, because that's what the jury will be doing. And isn't that what we do here? We just like go back and forth, with that. Um, I don't know if they offered her a deal. I don't know what happened. I guess we'll find out, you know, or we may never, you know. Juju wants so bad to be Sarah's lawyer. Maybe you should go to Florida and just be her lawyer free of charge. It's not like she's going to pay you. You'd be better at it than she would. Okay. She is overcharged. She could be in jail doing AA and all that and realizing the error of her ways. I'm telling you, it would have worked. The only downfall to my strategy is Sarah. Exactly, because she won't cooperate. So this is why, actually, I don't wish that headache on you. I think that you would do a better job than Sarah's going to do defending her, Juju. But I don't wish that headache on you. I don't want. I don't. No, you're not mixing up cases, Fish Nerd, because Sarah didn't plan. I've saw several comments that the battered woman defense was something they were looking at. And to be honest, we have researched and found multiple instances where George Torres was charged with assault against her and charges were dropped when she went and bailed him out the following night. There's been many domestic violence disputes at that apartment during their relationship since they've lived together. I believe the count was 4 where the charges were dropped against George. I think there were 2 that involved them both where charges were pressed against both of them. One of them making Sarah the aggressor, the other one dismissed because Sarah went and bailed him out and dropped all charges. Now that's not to say who's guilty and who's not. That's just the facts, You just need one of you on that jury, Juju. I hope everybody gets one of you on a jury. I'm not sure, Mary. The way she writes, she's been obviously from her last letter, she's been Googling a lot. So I don't understand why she doesn't have access to her court stuff because it was my understanding that defendants get a link to where things are stored by their attorney to be able to go over everything and so that they can communicate. And that it's my understanding that inmates do get access to a laptop on limited times. And she has been using that, but she's been Googling like how far YouTubers are talking about her and where people are talking about her the most and stuff like that instead of actually looking at her case stuff or talking to her attorney, which, and I'm only gathering that from her letter herself, from her own words. I don't know. You're walking out on you walk out on 3 meetings with your attorney and then complain that you're not getting any information from your attorney. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. But people gonna people. Humans gonna human. What can you do? I'm gonna go through for a few more questions, but that's the update on Sarah Boone. We've got to see motions. I will be checking regularly. If you are a member and you're in the Discord, the Sarah Boone room will be starting to fill up with some documents now. Those Google links allow you to actually look at the actual document. But also, I have in there already, and I have shared it previously. You can go right to the court record in the county in Florida and look them all of them easily yourself, free of charge, whatever that they post. All Sarah Boone's letters are there. All of these judgments. I mean, most of the information that I will actually go forward and speak on is after I read what's actually going on in the case, But I do, my opinion's mine and yours is yours. Everybody has their own. Okay. I like Juju. I like to wait till the trial to do my final determination. I might be inclined a little bit here that perhaps Sarah should have took a deal because to me, justice is for both the defendant and the victim. And the justice system has to work for both. And I think in a case like this where someone did die due to the actions of playing a game, getting locked in a suitcase, whether that was intentional or not is not the issue. The issue is that during him calling out and saying she couldn't breathe, she chose to ignore that. Whether she was inebriated enough to make a rational decision is another discussion. But the charge is, could she have intervened to save his life? Yes. Did she choose not to? Yes. She actually sat there and taunted him, and this doesn't look good. This doesn't look good at all. Okay. But did she do it with intent? I think if she had intent to do it, it wouldn't have still existed on her phone, the evidence of it, would it? And she's either the worst murderer on record on covering up a crime that ever existed, or she didn't intend for him to die. Did she intend for him to suffer? Perhaps. Did they have a contentious relationship? Obviously. The history of domestic violence calls to that apartment would say so. So, like Juju, sometimes I feel she's definitely overcharged here. But it's the attitude. After dealing with her, this is why I would say, after seeing how she interacts with the system itself, how they might have thought the other. Why they thought that there was definitely a plan there, that she's manipulative. Yes. Unless your name is Sarah Boone, you will not have access to all the files. Exactly. You just get what they make public. Her letters are a public record. The motions are public record. Hearing notes are of public record in Florida. The evidence from the prosecution, not yet, and I haven't seen the witness list posted yet either. But once we do, we'll discuss it. Yeah, right, Mark. Now I have that sign. Pack up your troubles in your old suitcase and smile, smile, smile. That's the song. That part at the end is making a melody appear in my brain here that I could hum to. Yeah, he did get in there. He did. I mean, they did it together. I don't think she put him in there. But there is evidence that from what it appears on the two videos that the suitcase was moved. It was flipped over at one point, and she was asked about that, and they weren't satisfied with the answer. But we'll hear all of it in the trial. Um, mm. Oh, hi, Mark. It's very good to have you here. I hope you're well. Anyway, you guys ready to move on to another one? I am. Okay. Let me just see what's next. Who do I have next in this display? Oh, here we go. Juju, here's one of your favorites. You're going to love this. Hey there, T King. Thank you for listening. Oh, hi. I like that, Mark. I like this. Wait, I got one of these. Thanks. Those kind of caps are acceptable. Thank you for emphasis. Yeah, let's move on from Miss Cookover Bananas. I call her Boo Boo Boone. Like, cause I when I read that 58 page, that's all I kept saying is, Boo Boo, no, Boo Boo, what are you doing? And it just stuck. Yeah. Anyway, we are moving on to more audacity and entitlement. Hello, Tate Brothers, Andrew, Christian. Let's have a chat. You guys are gonna love all this. This gets crazy. All right, there's been a couple of things going on with the Tate Brothers lately, but according to their Twitters and everything, everything's just fine, fine. Nothing to see here, everybody. The Matrix is out to get them. We all know this, right? We've heard it before. Let's just step aside and we'll put that aside and we'll just leave it because there's actually some legal stuff going on here that's pretty interesting. Um, yeah, fairly interesting. Like every time I look at him, I just get a little, but I guess I have to. I have to, right? Okay, so I can do it. If you guys can do it, I can do it. All right. You know that a lot of the information on the Tates is very difficult to get because, first of all, the lawsuit itself that I'm focused on, which is the human trafficking case, the assault cases right there, the racketeering case, in Romania against the Tate brothers and their two other co-defendants, the two women that they live with, one each, that was their like main person in charge of helping them out with things. There's four of them charged altogether. Well, I get a lot of that information from other Twitter accounts that have contacts in Romania. A lot of it is translated. We go back, we translate little articles. There are actually journalists over there. This is a new one that I just started to follow that has been putting breaking news out faster than anyone else. But I did go back and check with all the other accounts, and it does believe that all of this is true. Okay. The first one we're going to talk about is the Tate brothers. When they got charged in Romania, started a couple of defamation suits in the United States. In Romania, they could not sue anybody involved in the cases for defamation or anything, but they tried to use the American legal system to go against several victims in Florida, and also a Marine who, this goes back to like January or February when this case was dismissed. And I don't believe I've talked to you guys about this part before. The actual case in Romania, it is said to have been started by this particular Marine that they sued for defamation because he heard the story of one of the victims and he gave that story to the embassy in Romania about what was going on. And so therefore, the Tate brothers thought that they could appropriately sue him in America because they're under investigation and have been formally charged with allegations based on what this victim said. And this victim is one of the ones in Romania used in the Romanian case. Okay. And I do believe that she met them in Florida, or the actions happened when they first met in Florida, and that is why the cases are in Florida. Okay. That previous case against the Marine was laughed out of court. Gee, could you tell me why? Like, don't you have to prove something is false before you could say it's defamatory? I mean, yes, did it hurt your reputation? I'm sure it did, Andrew Tate, and I'm sure you don't like anybody talking about it, and I'm sure it's very damaging to your image. I get that part, but that's not how you prove defamation. You actually have to prove that they knew the statement was false, that they knew it was false, and then they put it forward anyway, and then caused all that damage. But you've been charged in Romania for the exact same thing that they reported. Now, this Marine was a reporter, okay? And, I'm sure he checked his facts the best he could. And he was so outraged by what he heard, he reported it to the Romanian embassy. I think anybody would. If you think that women are being harmed, trafficking is going on. Human trafficking is a big issue, okay? What did he do wrong? And you have to file a defamation suit. But anyway, that one was solved. So then the Tate brothers afterwards, they still filed suit when they found out who the victims were. They filed suit on two of them in Florida to try to again say that they were harassing the Tate brothers, that this was malicious prosecution, that they have caused defamation, libel. You get it, okay? But one of the victims' cases was recently just dismissed. And the judge did give them, although on the dismissal, as is standard in a lot of cases, an opportunity to amend their complaint to fix its deficiencies. Because, well, the deficiencies were that they didn't have any factual information to back up why these statements are false. Okay. But these were some notable quotes that the judge had to say in that ruling, and I found them to be, well, something I applaud. The Florida judge said, Florida has no interest in adjudicating this dispute, which occurred in Romania and involves plaintiffs that reside in Romania and who are not citizens or residents of Florida and who suffered no injury. in Florida. The judicial system here has little interest in resolving this dispute, especially at a stage where a Romanian criminal investigation is proceeding that will necessarily impact this matter. Dismissal is warranted. Plaintiffs were lawfully imprisoned in Romania, not Florida. In other words, nope. Go deal with your stuff in Romania. And if you're vindicated, I guess then we can start all over again. But until then, see ya. Don't let the door hit you in the butt. Facts like CTS. Mark, it's like, stop picking on how I talk. I know everybody is so concerned about how I talk. Oh my God. Hey. Hey, Liam. It's good to see you. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. Very interesting. But on bigger news, back to Romania. That's Florida, okay? We also know there's a lawsuit in the UK, right? We know there's a civil lawsuit of several women who are putting civil charges because the criminal charges were dropped in the UK several times. Women have come forward. Now they're doing a whole nother investigation again because the women whose charges were dropped are squawking about it, and the UK is looking at it again. We'll see. They have put out feelers for information and to see if criminal charges, but as far as I know, they're just doing the standard investigation at this time. There's no big hoopla going on. But it's my understanding there is a civil lawsuit of 4 of the women who could not get charges brought against them criminally. So they have gone the civil suit aspect, which the Tates use in to their benefit in their public relations about the case to say that the women are just organizing to get money from him. If that was true, he could have just paid them money and they'd be quiet. It's not like we don't have evidence of that already in the Romanian suit where people just tried to drop off after you paid them large amounts of money. But in Romania, they're allowed to actually go forward with the charges with or without the victim. And they are in several cases. They started out with 7 or 8. They've got like 4 or 5 left. Or several of them have decided they don't want to test it. It's their decision to not testify or to not be available for the prosecution. It's their decision, and that decision could be for numerous reasons. Just not wanting their life be disrupted, to just move on from the situation. It could also be that they feel fear or intimidation. Who knows? I do know that there's squawk and there's rumors coming out of Romania that there's also a secondary investigation, a second and a third investigation going on, I should say. There is a continued investigation into how far the racketeering went and some underage transactions that have occurred, especially with Tristan. And then there's also some witness intimidation, some attempted bribery of official attempts that are being investigated. Now, is there anything that's come of that? I would have to say that's all just rumor coming out right now. It's just what people are talking about. And I haven't seen any charges or anything from DCOT or the Romanian government saying that that's going on. However, Romanian reporters themselves you have to go by Google Translate. You get the articles from Romania and you got to translate them. I don't know how good, we can 100% count on the translations, but that's the gist of those articles. There are statements in there that say that there are investigations going on from sources that report to them. They don't say who the sources are. Okay. The attitude of the Tate brothers themselves out in the socials would say that those investigations are going on. They are acting very pushed back about the Matrix, that they are being targeted for no reason. People just hate them because they speak the truth, apparently. They've done nothing. They've done nothing. At last week's hearing in Romania itself, besides all these investigations going on, remember we talked about how the Tate brothers had said they won their appeal and they were going to get their assets back. And we had to clarify based on the filing in Romania that we actually were able to look at that no, they didn't get them back. They won the right to bring it back down to what we would call like state versus Supreme Court level or appeal level, like back to the original court to re-adjudicate on whether or not they would get it and whether they had solid foundations for keeping it. And that court decided last week that the Tate brothers will not get their assets back, and mostly because of this this Article 1112 special confiscation of they took all their assets. Sorry, I'm a little tongue-tied tonight. That actual article it actually shows the reasoning behind Romania's decision. And if you would like to read it more clear, I realize it's probably kind of small on my screen. It is on a post over at Murdered by Crayons, and it's also listed in the description of the video, so you can find her account again, along with the other one that I took the information about the dismissal in Florida, which led me to articles. I know that's what it is, Mrs. Cassandra. I saw you and now I can't talk. I'm like, I miss you so much. Like, I just couldn't. I'm just like, oh, there she is. I'm so tongue-tied, you know. Yeah, I know they need these assets to protect themselves from the Matrix, Liam. I get that. I mean, you know, not to flee to Dubai or anything. Exactly. And along with like not getting the assets back, they also last month they lost their 60-day review to extend their travel. They wanted to actually go to the other states in the in the European net there that weren't Romania, that were like no passport zones. You know, they wanted to be able to travel there, and Romania went, nah, I don't think so. I don't think so. Like, you don't get free travel like that. Nope, you got to stay right here. They still do every other day have to check in to the police station, which is in their neighborhood, and do their morning whatever. That's just how it is. They are under watch. They're not allowed to leave Romania or borders at all until this case is resolved. And as we reported, I believe last month, the Romanian process to actually have a judicial review by more than one judge to go over everything to make sure that they would actually go forward with the trial and the cost of a trial has happened. They decided there's enough there. They decided that Decode has a case, and well, there's going to be a trial. Do we have a trial date? No. Do I expect one anytime soon? No. Just this asset seizure hearings have been moved and canceled. I mean, 4 times in the last like 2 weeks before it actually happened. Either one attorney doesn't show up or one witness or somebody needs time. I mean, there's all kinds of delays going on over there. But that's normal. Like, we have the same thing here in America. People delay it. I mean, there's more than one person. There's more than one defendant. You've got 4 defendants and their attorneys. You've got the prosecution, and you've got a large prosecution. You also have the regular Romanian government in regards to the assets on whether or not. And you've got now the appeals court involved, because everything that happens, the Tate brothers appeal, and delays. Now, it's their right to appeal. I'm not saying anything about that. Of course, if you don't agree with a judgment and you got a reason to appeal it. Like, you should. You really should. Okay. But the decision is final now in regards to the assets. No more appeals. They lost their last option. But basically what it means is that the defendants, the Tate brothers and their co-defendants, were not able to prove that the assets were purchased with money not linked to the enterprises that they are being charged with criminal charges about. Okay. The racketeering, the Instagram accounts, all the OnlyFans, all of it. They weren't able to prove that they were bought with not illicitly gained funds. And Romania has some strict regulations about that. So they're going to hold on to them. And who can blame them? They've got a lot of nice stuff to sell if they convict the Tate brothers. If they don't, they will get their stuff back. And that's how it is in Romania. I can't really say anything. I don't live in Romania. I've got no horse in this race. Okay. I think it's well documented why, any assets acquired by perpetrating any offense stipulated by criminal law can be held. So, they're charged. And so those assets are not getting returned. Okay, let's just see. I think I have a message here. Hold on a second. What? The Tates aren't winning? Say it ain't so. I'm sorry, but I have to say it's definitely not so. They are not winning. Thank you for your super sticker, Mousy. It is a shocked face to go along with you can't see it on here, but it was a shocked face. You might be able to see it in the chat. They won't show it on the screen, but to go along with Mousy's what? The Tates aren't winning. Say it isn't so. Mousy, that was from you, not Shill. I think I said her name by mistake because I'm used to her popping up green. My apologies. Also, by the way, I saw that Shill on the stream that wasn't on Sunday had donated 5 memberships. Thank you very much, Shill, for your continued support and for growing the membership for those that can get the information in the Discord and have fun with game night and all, and share our love of just talking about these cases. I do appreciate it. I wanted to message that. Yeah, I'm not so shocked, actually. Liam says, I wonder what the overlap is between Tate followers and young Kale mega. You know what? Male mega supporters. You know what? I don't know. I would like to see that Venn diagram, actually. And that was really enough. I know, wasn't it the best nothing stream ever, Mrs. Cassandra? Juju and I really, we brought it, didn't we bring it? Like, it was the best, absolutely nothing stream ever, because it really was nothing. Like, nothing. Nice hook there. I really appreciate it. And thank you, Mousy. I'm kind of fond of all of you that allow me to do this, and share my hobby. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do it for the chat. Yeah, we purposely. Yeah, we just it wasn't really the electric. We scammed the whole thing. It was all a setup. Yeah, just to have the best nothing stream ever. Now we are on record to having the best nothing stream ever. Who could top it? It was epic. Exactly, Mrs. Cassandra. It was epic. No one will ever be able to top that stream. It's gonna go down in history. Oh. I know, that's why we deserve is that why we deserve the membership? We did the best one. Yes, it was the ultimate nothing. I agree. Thank you. Okay. All right. Hopefully we'll be back Sunday to disappoint you with how nothing's going to be something or whatever, because we can't top it. We could absolutely top it. we can't even top it. There's just no way we could top that one. Let's hope that the electric and everything cooperates. So far, my internet's been great since they replaced the router. I mean, that first night it went out while I was talking to people, on and off a bit, but it was just settling itself. And when we lost power the other day, Sunday actually, when it came back up, the internet came up just fine. It remembered who it was. The router no longer has a deficiency in remembering IP addresses or anything. Actually, you missed nothing, Mark, literally nothing, because the nothing stream actually wasn't even a stream. It was scheduled and it never happened. It was a true nothing, an absolutely nothing stream. You guys are making me laugh. All right, let's carry on. Okay. All right. The next one. The dementia has been cured. Yes, yes, Mippet. The dementia has been cured for the router. I'm not so sure about me, but the router remembers who it is and what it's supposed to be doing. Yeah, it no longer it has any disorder that I know of, Liam. I'm sure it'll think of something. That was quite entertaining. I have to give that tech a lot of credit. I was not actually in the best of moods while all this was going on. I'm sure you can understand. And I'm talking to a tech trying to resolve an issue that won't resolve. Like that router would not come back up for more than a minute or two. And it was frustrating. And I'm happy to say that actually I witnessed someone go out of their way to solve an issue, although temporarily he had to put a band-aid on it. But they actually called back later and made sure it was working. And then when they sent the tech out to do all the work, they actually came back to make sure that what we talked about is actually what happened. I'd have to say they actually did a really good job doing their job. And I don't get to see that often. And I was pleased. And that's why I want to talk about it. Like sometimes there are people that actually care about the job that they do and just want to make sure everybody's happy. And that was kind of cool. That was kind of cool. And it really helped me out. It helped me feel better about it. On the other hand, I don't feel so good about what just happened in the Keffe D case. Okay. Keffe D, his name is Duane Davis, and he is the head of a gang from years back and has been formally charged with supplying the gun and actually having involvement in the murder of Tupac Shakur. Now, we've talked about this. He is the only survivor of the white caddy. Okay. And he was big in the gangs back then. He had influence. There's even rumors that he had conversations with P. Diddy about doing this as a hit. There was some retaliation in regards to Tupac's altercation with his nephew Orlando, who was also in the vehicle. Who knows who actually pulled the trigger? I don't know if we're ever going to know. But there are statements from Keffe D himself that say he supplied the gun and he gave it to the shooter. And that he knew all about it. And he had a book out, he had statements out. We talked about the detective who also had a book out and statements out. And about the last time we talked, we actually talked about the audios that were out there and being shared. And I didn't understand how anybody involved in the investigation could share those audios to where this is where it came to, like, well, did he have immunity? Did he not have immunity? Like, his immunity wasn't in regards to the murder. His immunity was in regards to a drug case that they were working on at the time. And part of the kind of agreement was, well, if you don't talk about it, we don't talk about it. But when he came out and admitted to the crimes in public and he made money on it with a book, it does appear that everything changed in Nevada for Keffe D. Everything changed. First of all, the detective that he spoke with, that actually he gave the information to originally, was not part of that investigation. It wasn't part of the murder investigation of Tupac, and it was years later. Okay. And so, but I don't know. First of all, this case is very, very old, and everybody would like this murder solved. Tupac was very popular. His death was outrageous. All the situation going on at the time was outrageous. The coasts fighting with each other, gangs fighting with each other, all of the record companies that had some gang affiliations or didn't have gang affiliations, just all of this kind of bad boy activity stuff going on. I mean, it was hella mess, right? Or it was. All these years later, to have someone actually be facing charges, to me, this is astounding. This is why I'm following it. This is an unsolved murder case. And finally, through statements that he made himself, through a convoluted immunity or not immunity kind of deal. I mean, crazy, right? Well, even crazier than that, and it's linked below, was that just recently there was an hour-long bond hearing for him. Now, the judge, Carly Kearney, had, I believe it's Kearney, forgive me, Judge, if I got it wrong. She had said that she was setting the bail at $750,000 and that she wanted to make sure that whoever brought that bail up for him, that it wasn't from ill-gotten gains or there was no deals made for profit on this, because it is a high-profile case. We're talking Tupac Shakur here. And I think she did that not just because he's a gang guy, okay? The charges itself are upped because of gang affiliation and the use of a deadly weapon, a gun, okay? And in Nevada, those charges can be upped up for that. And they are. They are added on the charge. We talked about the original charges. That's how they did it. I think she's trying to be cautious here so that the family is protected too. I mean, if anybody's going to make any money on the trial, it should be the family of Tupac. Okay, if anyone's going to, it should not be the defendant in this case at this time. Okay, so I think she was being cautionary. But they actually put WAC 100, Mr. Ross, who runs a music management kind of company, who was coming forward with the 15% or the 10%. They put him on the stand and interrogated him. And apparently they played messages where they were making deals with each other in regards like tit for tat, and they're twisting it. But the prosecution was adamant that this money was coming from not a good thing, and that, again, in violation of everything. Like if he's going to be making deals to use his story, to get out of jail, then how can he say that, like, with him out there with his story making money on it, that we're not allowed to use those same things that he said in those taped interviews with the previous detective long ago? Because that's going to be an issue, whether they come in or not, or whether they even, are valid, okay, for use. Hi, Ted. Nice to see you. It's been a while. Welcome. But anyway, to me, I found that to be extraordinary. And another reason why it's so interesting to follow a case like this. It's not the sensationalism that is Tupac, although that's very interesting because, I want to know what happened there. There's all these stories and all these rumors circulating. And then now they've got the link into P. Diddy, and we know that he's under investigation right now. They searched his homes. There's a lot going on with him with civil lawsuits all over the place. But like I said, I know that that's an interesting story. And many of you have come to me and said, you want to get into it. And like I said, I'm freaking raking. I've linked her channel before. It's listed on my on the front of my channel. She did a really good job covering the civil cases that are going on with the women that came forward and the gentleman who used to work with him who came forward and made accusations against him. And I chose only once his house, he got raided in both locations, in Florida, in Los Angeles. Once his homes were raided, I decided, well, that kind of shows investigation. I'm going to wait for criminal charges. If he gets criminally charged, I agreed with a bunch of you, and I'm going to stick to it, that we will cover it. But if you want to follow up on the civil suit and stuff that's going on with P. Diddy, Sean Combs, that's who I think's doing a good job. You'll also see a lot of the YouTubers still covering it. Law and Crime and Crime Network, like all of them, Court TV, they'll all be covering the civil stuff here and there if you want. So, I mean, the information's out there. It's not that I won't privately answer questions if you want. It's just, I've got a pretty full roster, and, for me, it's the civil stuff. I've had so much of that kind of stuff civilly that I don't see a hook there. I don't see anything to keep me fascinated and keep me entertaining about it and keep me researching it. And that's the thing. If I don't see the hook, so I want to research, then I'm not like engaged enough to keep you well informed, to keep the conversations going, to have really good discussions with you guys. You get what I'm saying? Like, it just wasn't there for me. Okay. And plus, somebody was having a good one. And so I am answering you, Mrs. Cassandra. I just saw that you actually asked me about this, and I can't believe I've already just did the whole spiel and answered you. Um. Now I have looked into the story about P. Diddy actually having something to do with this, and it comes right from those interview tapes that we're talking about, to where Keffe D actually said on those tapes, whether or not prompted by the other detective or not, there's a bunch of going back and forth there that says that he was led into this, to say that he actually met with P. Diddy and P. Diddy wanted Tupac dead. Okay, and that he was willing to pay 2 million or a million or something for it. And also, the stuff about Biggie too. I haven't heard a link to Biggie that actually comes to something for evidence in this case, coming into trial. But when this case comes to trial, we may, Mrs. Cassandra, we may hear more about it. P. Diddy did actually have a great relationship with Biggie. He was part of his music thing. See, this is what I mean. Suge Knight's music company against P. Diddy's music company, East versus West, and who was with who, and all of this gang stuff, and they're all gang affiliated or not. Who knows? It gets very convoluted. But yeah, that was the statement, and that is what came right from Keffe D. He made statements like that in his book. He made statements like that in interviews, but more importantly, he made statements like that when talking to a detective years ago in regards to something else. He was using that as information to entice them in, whether he was just, now he says through his attorney, and the reason I'm talking about it is during the bail hearing, his attorney said again, whatever he said in his book and whatever he said in interviews, he was lying. He was telling stories to make money. Like, you can't hold all this against him. That's basically the angle the defense is taking. Now, Mr. Arnold, his attorney, is a very good attorney. Okay. I'm hoping he does a really good job for him. I'm going to follow this, and I hope that we get to see the trial. I would like to see a live trial on this. I would like to see all of the evidence that they're going to put out. I think the witness statements alone, because what witnesses? All these many years later, there aren't any. Like, here's the thing. It's only his own words that they're really going to be able to use against him. And I don't know how legally they're going to be able to do that based on how they got them. Based on, like, what? Who knows if he's actually telling the truth? Only he does. But I think that they are trying to see if they can get those interviews in with the other detective. If they can get that audio in, I think then it would be pretty clear to a jury and to the public that if he said it then it wasn't just to make money later after the all got released. He says he put it all out there to make money after the detective, once he retired, put it all out there and made money on it, and that he had a right to do it too. And that it's all made up. If it was made up, then you lied to them years ago to receive whatever benefit you did legally to keep yourself out of trouble for some other drug distribution charge. So it's a sticky wicket. What is that? Oh, my friend Recker said the other day, lemony snicket moment. Like, that one's going to be tough. That one's going to be tough. Okay. I want a live trial for Boone too. The hearings have been, we've got news teams that are actually doing the hearings, and we get snippets of them here and that, although we didn't for June 28th. And I think that's because it was closed or it just happened so quickly. It wasn't on the roster. I never saw it until after it happened. It didn't even show up as scheduled. What I'm hoping that they get permission to live broadcast it, because then we're there. We're there. We're there. Yep. Yep. Were you stuck on top messages again? Sorry about that there, Mousy. Okay. So anyway, any questions in regards to Keffe D? I mean, we're coming to trial soon on Keffe D too, in quite a few months before the end of 2024. I don't see it being delayed. Actually, at the end of this hearing, the judge listened to everything. They actually grilled um this guy that wants to put up the bail for Keffe D. They grilled him for almost an hour, answering questions back and forth and talking to the judge. And the judge didn't decide at the end of the hearing. She listened to everything from both the defense and the prosecution. I mean, Keffe D spoke too. And I have linked the full hour-long video that a news organization, I think it was Law and Crime, had better audio. So I linked them. But I actually listened to it through a news organization first, but the audio was getting really weird. And so I went and found you another copy of the full hour, and you can listen to all the statements made. But to me, it was just like, wow. At the final, the judge did say she'd be going over the bank statements to see if she could see generally that there was money there that could not have been from from these deals or whatever. And she listened to the statements before she actually allows him out on bail before trial. I mean, all of this just on the bail. I mean, can you imagine? Like, wow. I don't think the judge is doing anything wrong here. I don't think she's being, in any way prejudicial, although there's a lot of talk out there that it is. She had made the motion prior. She had said when she issued the bail amount that she wanted to make sure, because of his gang affiliations, that it wasn't from any of those types of sources. So I think she's just trying to honor what she said and sticking to it to make sure. But Liam says, I think that he was just showing off to make money. Defense may go a long way, but not necessarily all the way to getting an acquittal. Exactly. Especially when that showing off included saying that he bought the gun, he knew what the gun it was. They can actually probably tie him to that in some way. If they can, his statements about him just being like to make money doesn't mean it's not true. I mean, here's a perfect example of two things could be true at the same time. Everything he said could be true, and he could be saying it just to make money. Right? It doesn't mean he wasn't in that Cadillac. They've got evidence to collaborate that he was from prior. I think I did hear that some statements to now deceased people or now unavailable people were taken in the beginning that may have alluded to him being there, and there was rumor and this, that, and the other thing. What they have from the original case, I don't know. How much of the original case years later are they going to be able to admit for the trial as evidence? What is prosecution going to be able to bring forward? I mean, and who's still around and who's willing to talk? Yeah, I don't think Sarah Boone is camera shy either, Liam. She has been focusing on the fact that people are watching the hearings and that we see everything she does. She's made many comments about it when speaking in court in her letters. And we're all fans now. She's going to contact us all for that bail money. I wonder if she's going to be contacting us all to get her a lawyer, because she does have that option. If I didn't, point that out, my bad. She does have the option to hire an attorney. Well, she doesn't have the funds to do it. She is admitted to being indigent, but she can definitely hire her own attorney. And I do believe that even when you defend yourself, they will have somebody that you can talk to. Yeah, I think she's speaking to the public too, Juju. Yeah, I really do. Okay. All right, we got one more. And when I pull this one up, please keep your groans and don't throw tomatoes at me, okay? Like it's not my fault. It's not my fault. Okay. We do have to talk about this though. Because it just happened and because I have an announcement about it that you are going to be you're going to be either happy or not. You're all free to decide that in the chat. I'm ready for it. Okay, I saved it for last on purpose. Yes, that's Karen Read. Yeah, we're going there. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Because as many of you that have been following it and talking to me privately know, Karen Read, the verdict is in. It's a mistrial. The jury could not give a unanimous verdict. And in charges as serious as this, that's what has to happen. Okay. We don't know what the percentage was. We don't know what the reasoning it is. And thank you, Mrs. Cassandra, for putting Rakin's channel in there to follow the P. Diddy stuff. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I should link it in the description, and I will. I appreciate that. Thank you. Anyway, Karen Read. All right. She's happy that she's not going to jail today. And I don't blame her. I'm not going to, her coming out and doing that smirk. Well, fine. I can tell you she didn't look too happy in the courtroom when the O'Keefes left. And Paul O'Keefe said something like he's not done with her yet. And she said something back. And boy, was she really shook. I wouldn't say shook, but it did bother her. It got under her skin. Her demeanor changed. She wasn't happy. She had a very sour look on her face. She looked agitated, and the family looks deflated, but they are all willing to go back because here's the thing. It's not like we're not going to have another trial. We are. Was this a trial that, well, it caught my attention, not because of the facts or anything. At first, what caught my attention was the three-ring circus, the way people outside, YouTubers and journalists, were inserting themselves into this case to such an extent that I just, like, I sat with my mouth open more days than not. I most of, like, my head was shaking. You know how you do the shake my head thing and you're just like, oh man, like I can't believe it was shaking so much and so often. Like I'm surprised it's still attached to my shoulders. And I'm not even following it like every day religiously like some people were. Like I feel for you. If anybody who watched that trial day in and day out, all the hours of it, and paid attention to all the posts and everything that was going on, bless you. You've got more constitution than I do. Like I couldn't do it. I could not. It was crazy. There were problems on all sides. Prosecution and defense. Was the prosecution's defense delivered with lackluster and perhaps weak? Yes, it was. Was there problems in the investigation? Absolutely. I mean, that was apparent. Was the defense more like a clown show sometimes? Yeah, but that's their job. And like I say, I don't really like that kind of defense, but it's valid. And if it works, it works. I'm no, they're the lawyers, not me. I don't think she's really happy, Ted. I think you're right. He says that picture of her looks forced or a fake smile. I think she's just like, yep, there it is, but it wasn't not guilty, so I got to do this all again. And it's expensive. That lawyer staying right next to her is an expensive attorney. And then you add Alan Jackson and whoa. They have said that her father paid all of those attorney bills. And I don't know if he still has it. I'm sure he's well off. This is a family that does appear to have some money in connections. I'm just, I'm sure she's not thrilled with having to go through it all again. This is just a break until the next one. I can imagine I'd feel pretty much the same. It's not a true victory. It's better than going to jail that day. I mean, it's better than guilty. Absolutely. But is it a solid win? No. Okay. But here's the things we need to talk about. During this investigation, there was rumors of the FBI getting involved in this, that, and all. There's also witness intimidation cases against one of the YouTubers. I believe his name is Aiden Kearney. And he is going to go to trial on July 11th. And we're going to see what happens with that. But in actually the exposing of that case, several people have put out what appear to be text messages. And I won't say that they're legitimate until they show up in court as evidence, and then I'll say they're legitimate. But I have seen the statements in the filings against Aidan Kearney, and Karen Read is mentioned as being the one giving the information to Aidan Kearney in regard to who's who and who's what, and so that witness intimidation could occur. That she did give evidence from the trial to this YouTuber. That she did say what she wanted out there and what she didn't. It does appear, based on the filings, and this is only the prosecution's filing so far in Aidan Kearney's case. I'm not following that case. I will look to see what happens on July 11th. Okay. But the free Karen Read versus Karen Read is guilty sides out there on the socials are so entrenched in what they believe. Like you can't go anywhere near being in the middle about anything or ask a question without being like torn to shreds. Like it's a little vile out there. So I chose not to get into that. I am really interested to see what happens in regards to that case on the 11th. Okay, to see if he does actually get convicted of all of these charges of witness intimidation. And to see also if Karen Read, during the mistrial period before the next trial, will actually have to face charges herself on that. I mean, she was in the middle of a murder trial when this all came out. So I don't know. But she has been indicated. Now, has she already made a deal with them? I don't know. It's not information that I'm privy to. And that I have seen anything on. All right. So we're waiting to see about that. But in regards to the rest of it, there's obviously more, because that's the thing with the Karen Read case. There's always more. Just when you think you got it all in a little box and you think you know what's going on, more stuff happens. Okay. First of all, immediately the district attorney put out a release, okay, that said that there would be a status conference on July 22nd in regards to this case going forward. And they will talk schedule, and they will talk about dates on when it would. And they wanted to thank the O'Keefe family for their commitment and dedication to the long process. They maintained sight of the true core of this case to find justice for John O'Keefe. The Commonwealth intends to retry the case. They immediately came out with a statement that says they didn't look back at how the case went or they didn't even get a chance to talk to the jury yet. This message came out immediately, okay, which is why I'm talking about it, because to me that was like, whoa, like they feel very strongly about this. And I, based on some of the shenanigans I saw go on in the courtroom and that I saw everywhere else, I don't blame them. I mean, they want to prove that they had a right to file this case, and they will. And I don't know if it'll be Lally. I heard a lot about him not being able to present a case with flair. I mean, is that actually a requirement? I thought it was about facts and evidence. But there's problems with this case about facts and evidence too. Did the defense do a decent job of poking holes and putting doubt places? Yes, they did. Obviously, they did. We have a hung jury. Obviously, there are people on that jury that believe that the investigation, that there's not enough evidence there to say that she hit him. And they were given the option of actually going for manslaughter, not just murder. So they don't even have to decide intent. They just had to say, was she there? Did she hit him? Did she leave? Manslaughter. That's it. Did she know? I mean, it shows that the defense did do quite a job. They did do their job. They did have people looking at the evidence. That's quite, I mean, even I, looking at tailgate evidence, looking at photographs, looking at all these like third-party theories that they came out. But what really bothered me the most was the witness intimidation. What happened to the people that they thought should have been charged? The fact is, Karen was charged. Not anybody that was in the house where the body was located on the property, on the corner of the property near the street, okay? Not at the front door, not in the front yard where everybody could see it. Off to the side, over in the corner, kind of out of view on a blizzardy night in a snowbank, okay? But they decided that everybody that was at that house had to be more to blame than who was charged. And that was what the angle the defense took, and everyone that supported that she had been charged erroneously took. And unfortunately, people behaved really, really badly. I mean, horribly. They were going to children's sports games where these witnesses were, and these other friends of John O'Keefe that knew him and knew Karen, and that resided or were friends with those that resided at this home's location. They were intimidating children and adults involved in a case. And I just, however you feel about a case, who's guilty and who's not, that's just wrong. That's going too far. That's a line. That's a line that for some people just doesn't seem to exist. And I don't get it. Okay. I just don't get it. Um, but the news from my channel is when we have that retrial, I'll be covering it. I don't know if I'll cover it live. Uh, Massachusetts is boring. It takes a long time. They only do court. I mean, it would probably be perfect for me. They only did what they did court like half days, only a couple of days a week. I mean, for me, it would be a lot less exhausting. But I don't think you guys are going to want to be there every day, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? But I am going to cover it one way or another. Okay. You get an unsettling feeling every time I see her. I will say she's not a likable defendant by a lot of people. Oh, I would say the judge did reprimand her recently, asked her if she thought something was funny because she was laughing. I would say I've seen her give dirty looks on camera to the jury constantly. Um, yeah, I would say she's not likable that way. There is something about her. And it might be, I might be a bit biased because of the shenanigans that are happening in her name that she's not doing anything about, and that I do see some evidence based on the investigation into the other case of witness intimidation that she may have encouraged or even fostered, contributed to. Um, but then again, I wasn't on trial fighting for my freedom. So I'm trying to give grace, but I would say I don't consider her very likable. I mean, that's a statement in itself. That's for good reason. Like when you see a predator in the wild, you know what? There is some such thing about instinct. If you get an instinct, I, but that's a discussion for another day. Others may be convinced by her Red Riding Hood act, but I see more wolf. You're not alone. There are people on both sides, you know. Mhm. Liam says, if it was an accident, she certainly didn't care and saw an opportunity. Um, that's kind of where I was. I would say that she did everything wrong after she realized she hit him. I do not, from what I've seen, and now we're going to have to go through a whole nother trial to see if we actually see the same stuff. But from what I have seen, it's evident that to me that he was hit by a vehicle, her vehicle. I mean, come on, there was such fine little minute pieces of tail light all over his clothing. How would that happen? That's not transfer. Okay. His DNA was on the tail light. She she has made utterances. She was actually saying things like he was dead prior to finding the body. There was time where she was actually, it seems like she went back to the scene of the crime. She made statements to her father that said, I know I hit something. I just don't know what it was. I think I hit something. Not I know. I think, or there may have been something. She actually did an interview after she was charged. And there is her also saying, if I hit him, I wasn't really aware it was him. Like I may have hit something. Like, I mean, she said it. Um, I don't think she ran him over. I don't think she intended to hit him. Did she back up? Was she mad what they're fighting? Yeah. But you can have an argument with a partner and not actually set out to kill them. Bad things can happen, especially when you're behind the wheel of a vehicle in a really bad storm. I mean, on another day in the spring, he might have got up after a while and went inside. Another day, people would have came out and actually saw him because there wouldn't be the running all covered up to your car. You would have saw him in the snow, and he may still be alive, and it would have been an all horrible argument, and maybe they would have broke up finally for good or whatever. Things could have been different, but there was a bunch of circumstances involved in this situation that led to his death. But the being hit was the main one. And there are some things like the deleting of the ring cam that need to be talked about. You don't go back after having an argument with your boyfriend and delete the ring cam unless there's something you want to hide. Now, I don't think she knows she killed him. Did she perhaps at that point know she hit him? And so she saw that her taillight was broke, so she got rid of the ring cam so he couldn't sue her? Probably. Was she in a paranoid and defensive state of mind and very, very drunk? There's no doubt she was inebriated. She was well over the limit based on the testing. Well over the limit. Like that, the fact that any of them were driving that night actually was one thing that I was like, whoa. Listen, like, I'm not going to judge on any of that either. Like I have my feelings about it, but I'll keep that, you know. Can we watch certain portions together? Hey, I'm not saying I won't do it live. I mean, but it was 3 months long of trial. I mean, that was a long trial. That would be like signing myself up for total aggravation like every single day. But I do want to follow it because now it's fascinating to me. There's witness intimidation. There are other lawsuits involved. There is actually just how badly the first trial went. How are they going to redo it? Now I'm intrigued. I won't say fascinated. Let's just say intrigued. I'm intrigued enough that we're definitely going to cover it. And Juju, I will watch it with you guys, like in the Discord, even if you want, so that you can get your ha-has in, even if I don't bring it out here. Like, I'm not going to not talk about it. That's for sure. And and it's not so much that it's because it's sensationalism. It's because now I'm intrigued to see where it's going to go. Most people are going to fall off and they're going to say, nah, I'm done with that. That was just a circus. Like, I don't want to get involved anymore. But now I'm intrigued because now they did all of that. Like, they did all of that. That whole trial just happened. And I'm like, really? This is where we're at? Okay, now you got me. Now I want to see what happens. Like, you can't just cut the story off for me like that. It's like, now I want to know. Yep. Ted says, this is true. In the human race, monsters look like everyone else. Yes, they do. And there are horrible people everywhere. And there are people that just don't care. Wasn't she tested 9 hours later or something? Yeah. I don't remember the exact timing, but I do believe it was after the fact. She was at the hospital. After, I mean, she found the apparently she hit him sometime after midnight, found the body around June, and by the time they got her, not June, 6 a.m. Why is 6 a.m. June in my head? I don't know. I think my router has interfered with my conception right now. Well, June, no. 6 a.m., yes. Around 6 o'clock in the morning is when they went there. She went there with her friends, according to what I heard in testimony, and discovered the body. And that it was after that fact that she was hysterical, she was drunk, she was acting erratic. She went to the hospital, okay, and they wanted to make sure that she was okay. And it was at that point that I believe she was tested. Okay. What's come on, Mark? What? According to your profile picture right there, Any self-respecting monster wouldn't mind looking like you at all. Like, knock it off. I mean, there. What? Maybe we should have a bingo square that says "Bear strokes the chat back." How about that? Instead of just stroke the bear. Yeah. Being under the influence is not an excuse for irresponsibility, but it could account for the time delay and why, if he did die from getting hit, why she did not intend it. Like, as if she had went back and reported it or whatever. I get that. I do. It doesn't excuse it. It could be a valid reason for her improper thinking at the time and for her lack of accountability. I do agree that. Same thing with Sarah Boone. Her lack of judgment. It was interfered with. But it does have a lot to do with intent. Inebriation can actually influence whether a jury decides you had intent or not. And I think you all can see that. Right? Yeah. Yeah. I get it. You know, you know, hmm, it's going to be contentious, and I hope you all will ride it with me. I think it'll be okay. And if not, if it annoys you, I don't blame you if you don't want to be here. I know. Did you, Ted? I'm glad I amused you, but I don't want your neighbors to get at you. I just laughed like an insane person. My neighbors are probably worried now, stroking the chat. Yes, exactly. And they both act like butter wouldn't melt. I don't know. There was a lot. There was a lot going on about the attorneys. There was like, but also the other thing I wanted to the other thing that I wanted to bring to light was that I'm fully aware that like all of this going back and forth in regards to Proctor, right? Okay. Now there is something I wanted to play you from Twitter, if you'll indulge me. Hold on. There's quite a few little links that I want you guys to check out later for some of this stuff. One of them is the one I'm gonna bring up right now. Hopefully, if I can get it to act accordingly. Let me just get down. That was my presentation for everything today, and we only have a few minutes. But in regards to Proctor, apparently he's being investigated. We all know there was some really, I mean, not, I shouldn't say we all. If you were watching the trial or the socials at all, or even mass media, you will get an inkling that Proctor had said some very, very unprofessional and unkind things in regards to the defendant, Karen Read, in regards to this case, in regards to statements that she made and acts that he took, which in no way do I think were appropriate. We're not going to go there. Okay. Um, do I think that they should come up for the jury to see and everything? Yeah, it was probably, there's no way the defense was not going to do that once they found out about it. And the way that he did act did hurt the case. Okay. Because it takes credibility of his statements. And shows some bias to he thought she was guilty. Now, whether he can state what those reasons are why he says she was guilty was important, and he did hit the stand and he did try to do that. But it did look horrible, and he is under investigation, and I think that's appropriate. The agency that the state police need to actually worry about their reputation, their protocols, their procedures, what they think is appropriate, and he should be under investigation. He's currently not on active duty. They have pulled him from active duty and reassigned him somewhere, although he's still being paid, and that's based on the unions. Okay, he's not allowed to have his pay stripped until they find him guilty of an infraction which is worth firing or denying pay or penalizing him for. So for everybody that is upset that he's still getting paid because he's not doing his job, that's the way it is. And if it was you and you had a professional job, you would want to actually have the opportunity to actually prove that this actually was something you did inappropriate or where you violated a rule before they took your pay away and fired you. Okay. And that's how it is. You can't have it both ways, you know. We all think that what he did was inappropriate, whether it violated an actual standard or, I mean, we all might have moral issues with it, but it has to actually violate protocol for them under their rules and regulations before they can do anything about it. And I'm sure you get that. Same thing with teachers and doctors and lawyers and all kinds of professionals that have unions that protect them. You know, nursing unions, teachers unions, student unions, okay, factory unions, or mail delivery, the U.S. Postal System unions, even in retail, we have unions in, that's where it is with that. Okay. Let me just, I'm going to bring this up. I think it's the right screen. This man talked about, just bring it back here. Make sure it's going to play. Okay. This man's name is David Waite, and he's a journalist. And he said something on Twitter that helped to explain this whole situation with Proctor. So I thought that the best thing, rather than me to try to do it third party or fourth party or whatever, this is what he learned in regards to what's going on with Proctor. So hopefully you guys can hear this.
Hey, everyone. So we have a huge breaking story tonight surrounding the Karen Read trial. The lead investigator in the case, Michael Proctor, has been relieved of duties from the Mass State Police. Of course, this comes on the day that a mistrial was declared in that case. And you may remember Michael Proctor, the lead investigator, he is the one who had those super offensive text messages about Karen Read to his friends and colleagues while also investigating the case. Now, this is really confusing because they say that he's relieved of duties, but also say that he had been transferred out of the Norfolk County DA's office, the detective unit there. But as I talk to state police, this is what I'm learning. He has been transferred basically to no job at all. In their words, he will no longer be functioning as a state trooper. In other words, he will not be out in the field. He will not have a job. He will basically sit and wait for a disciplinary hearing, and he will get paid as he's waiting. Once he has this hearing, and there's no date right now, there is no date set for it. Once he has that hearing, he can either be put back on the job, he can be suspended without pay, he can be suspended with pay, or he could be put on restrictive duty. But it is the beginning step, thanks to union rules, the beginning step in being terminated. But again, he officially is on the roster of state police, but relieved of all duties. This does not have anything to do with the internal affairs investigation that he was already facing. That investigation continues. But the headline here, the words of state police, he's been relieved of duties. He has no job right now with state police, even though he's technically on the roster. A huge developing headline on the day that Karen Read's trial was declared a mistrial. That's the latest, and as soon as we learn more, we'll pass it along to you.
Okay. So, yeah, basically, he said it much better than I could. But what I also have from you is from the state police themselves, from the commissioner, his statement, which I did. It was very, very long, so I had to do one of those like unroll thread reader apps to my actual Twitter. And there it is. It is on Twitter that they did it. I'm sure if you look them up, you will also find it on Facebook and other places if you guys don't use the X at all. But I found that interesting. That's just the process, but it happened at the same time. And so, what will that do to the testimony that he provided in this case? I don't know what's going to happen in the new trial, but now you can see why I'm intrigued. Like, it's still going on, right? It's still going on. Statements are being made. People are backing away from stuff. What I would like to see happen is the harassment of everybody involved, and that includes people on the defense side, to stop, and let people just, take a moment, touch some grass, get some perspective and get ready for round two. Chances of it being a circus again are pretty high, but I think we might be prepared for the shenanigans this time. At least I will be. And I am intrigued now. Yeah, I admit. And it's not the drama part. I am fascinated by with everything that happened with witness intimidation and really bad actors. I mean, Michael Proctor's statements as the lead investigator in the case for the state police have an effect on this case. And to me, like, what are they going to do about it? I'm intrigued. I want to know, what is prosecution going to be able to do? What is the state's case going to look like the second time around? Now that all the holes have been pointed out, you know, and will the defense come forward with another dog in another third party uh, accusation, which formally was presented to the media and to socials, but not in court? Did it? Everybody notice that? They did try with the dog part. Yes, there was some of that in there. But that third party thing about everybody inside that house, they really soft pedaled it. They did make it like they were covering up for each other. And because they're all friends and they talked. And well, of course they did. They've all been friends since school and they know each other through this, that, and the other thing. And they all talk. And one of their friends died. Of course they talk. They probably talk every day. And they probably talk about that. They probably talk about what they think. The way Karen was acting, they probably talk about how much they don't like her. It was evident that she was not well liked. But does that mean you're a murderer? Or there's a big conspiracy? I thought that was all pretty normal kind of stuff, to be honest. But anyway, the new case will be rather interesting. You know, on that, I think I'm done for the evening, everyone. I will be putting up a Restaurant at the End of the Universe chapter in more next week too. I'm thinking of doing another one on Friday. How do you guys feel about Friday same time? I mean, is that convenient for anyone? Does anyone have an opinion in the chat they'd like to give about the best time? Because there's a couple of other cases that I really want to get caught up with, and there's some new ones I want to cover that I want to talk to you about. I wonder if Boone would have gotten along with Reed's lawyers. Choo Choo, that is a terrifying thought. And actually, it's humorous at the same time. Like, I'm scared, but I'm also grinning. Does that make any sense? Like, I'm like, whoa, that would be. And then I'm like, also, here comes the big grin. Wouldn't that be something? I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that, actually. That was too much all at once. Should Karen's defense have been, I was too drunk to know I had hit him? In the history of the case, from what I understand, the original charges were manslaughter. Usually with something like manslaughter, I can imagine the prosecution was willing to offer a deal. It seemed like Karen was adamant about her not doing it, even though they had evidence to say she did. And I think that's why the charges got upped and she was charged again with more after they found more information. But it just doesn't seem reasonable to me that they wouldn't have negotiated in the beginning. So yeah, it was too drunk and I hit him and these things happen. She chose to go the other route for whatever reason. To me, it seems like she was the last one to see him and she was in that vehicle and they have evidence that shows parts of that vehicle are on his body. To me, that says a lot. But I don't know why she pushed so hard back. I don't know if they offered her a deal or not. Just like Boone should say, I was too drunk, I didn't realize. I mean, hey, accidents happen, bad things happen. Were they dumb? Were they stupid? Were they complicit? Yes, they were. But the intention for either of them, I don't see it. I don't see it clearly, hands down, without a doubt. If I was on either jury, I could not say they intended to kill their partners. I couldn't. Even though both of them are extremely unlikable to me, I would not be able to do that. So I don't see it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Bear nuzzles the chat. That's a good way to put it, Rocket. I just love that. You always find the best way to say something. Juju says every investigator in this case hurt the Kate. Yes, they did, in regards to how they took notes, how they remembered things, how they appeared in court, whether they were a good witness or not. You're right. There was issues with almost everything. And mostly because there was so much wrong, we were looking for it. I think some of the stuff that we focused on, if it was a regular case and there wasn't so much going on, shenanigans about it, we wouldn't have even noticed that much. I mean, that first guy they put on that didn't take good notes and he just appeared like a really bad cop, like a lazy cop, a really bad at reports, bad at taking notes. Yeah, like a cop that's been doing it too long and is taking a lot of shortcuts. But that was a personal opinion. There's no real facts there. I'll admit that. That's just personal, just the perception I got. But I agree with you. There was a lot of people involved in this case that hurt the case in regards to how the information came out later. Yep. I did not say duties. I did not. I did. Did I say duties? I did. His official duties, I did in regards to Proctor. I said Proctor and duties in the same sentence. Oh my. And thank you for the Tommy W reference, because you know that always makes me happy, Liam. I can end this stream at exactly 9 o'clock now. Very, very happy. Okay. Don't forget, everybody, do the YouTubey things. If you like this and you think somebody else will, please share it. I mean, I don't focus on this kind of stuff and I don't do the YouTubey things. You have to do them. You have to like and share and subscribe and do all of that. And I appreciate every single one of you. Thanks for having the conversation. Thanks for the discussion. I will see you all again very soon.